Is that the same intake that was on it before?
No.
Which intake is that?
This is the new Hogan intake that is lower to clear the hood.
So we don't have to modify the hood?
No, we do not have to modify the hood. We do have to build an adapter like I built on the Bullet,
Yeah.
like on Tully's, to move the throttle body down this way on an angle. But Hogan's the same company that made the one on the 68 Mustang we did.
It's a good looking intake.
But they built this one 2 inches lower than the other one.
Yeah, because the factory one's really big.
Yeah, it's really big on the top, kind of tapers back, but it does put the throttle body on an angle. So we're going to need to do that to get our intake tube to line up. But yeah, the other one was like this tall.
Yeah.
And it would hit the hood, so they dialed us up. They made us one real short. They pushed the runners. Normally the runner would attach here.
Yeah.
They moved the runner all the way up to there and dropped the hat down.
Oh, okay, so that's how they saved the space.
Yes, that's where they saved the space right there. So they basically sucked the middle down and made a lower top.
They did some good work.
Yes, they do.
Hogan intakes.
Yeah, it did well. It made power on the other one too. It made like 25 more horsepower than it was supposed to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It made 574 to the wheels at 7,800.
That was the 68.
That was the 68, yeah. Yeah, 574 to the wheels. Supposed to make 550, so something we did, intake, whatever, picked up, 24 horsepower. That's pretty good. It's a beast. We are making this box is the airbox. This removable box is the airbox. So basically we're building a bridge work to put the air filter in there. And this will all be completely sealed off, and this will be the airbox. So the filter will go in there, and there'll be a border that holds the filter in. So we're building a framework basically like this. It's got a 1/4 inch break on it, and then it'll go in there, and then there'll be some nut certs and a framework that actually holds the filter in.
Very cool.
Yes, a lot of details that no one will ever see. This is
We're hiding everything.
we're hiding everything. And there may end up being a scoop. I don't really know that yet. It'll be able to take a lot of air in, but when we get the framework done, there may be some type of scoop to tunnel air to this. We don't really know that yet. We'll have to see how it plays out once it's in there. That is how it goes.
That's it. Like flat out.
But that will be part of the box. This will be the air box. So there will be an air inlet here that comes from the intake into this sealed box, that the only hole will be this hole for the air to come through, and the hole that goes to the intake. So it'll have a lid, it'll be completely sealed off. And then this box is part of the structure, part of the engine compartment, and it will come out. So you can take the box out, and you'll be able to take the filter out through the fender well or whatever. So, yeah. So that goes like that.
The adapter gets boxed in.
And it gets, we'll have to add a heavy section here because we got to countersink that screw into there, because you won't be able to get to it normally, but it gets boxed in to look just like the intake, just like we did on the 68. That's what happens when this don't fit this. But plus we need to turn it down and get it a little closer to where we're going anyway. With my radio, should have known. We are boxing it in, but I had to put a heavy piece in that corner. That's one of these machined down to fit in that corner, because I have to mill a pocket for this top screw, and I have to have material there so I don't go through to a hollow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did this on the 68.
Yep, same thing. Yeah, I have to take a end mill and actually make a pocket for that screw to go into. So to do that, I have to have enough material in that corner that it doesn't go to a hollow. The sides can be thin; they don't do anything. They're just a cover, you know.
Getting there.
It is definitely getting there. I got to do some machine work. I got to make pockets for these two screws that look like those, which means I'll have to mill through this way and make access to get to those two screws that are hidden now.
That's why you put the thicker bar
Yeah,
in there.
that's why the thicker piece is in here, because I'm going to have to drill out the, indicate this in the mill, drill a hole through it, then flip it over, line the hole up, and then pocket it with a 1/2-inch cutter so you can put a hidden, well, not really hidden, but a recessed bolt. And
It'll match the rest of the
intake. It'll
intake.
match the rest of the intake, and then this will get painted with that and all that stuff. So, yes, sir. It will look just like the other one. Should have just made two.
Yeah.
Maybe I should make another one
Maybe
right
another
now.
one, just keep them on the shelf.
Just keep it on the shelf just in case. But you know, the angle does change and things. So I'll just keep my patterns.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. I usually try to, because you never know. They don't usually do two of the same thing, but it might end up being that way. Yeah, cool.
Very cool.
Then we'll clean all in here and clean all that, and they'll obviously body work it and paint it when they do the intake. But yep. The master cylinder is close to the engine. It was mocked up that way, but we're going to move that under the dash with a Kugel 90-degree pedal assembly, and we'll be able to change this shape. This shape would have to look like this to get around everything, but it would have to bring it in on an angle. You know, you don't have a lot of clearance here, so we're going to basically move the master cylinder under the dash with a 90-degree style pedal, and then we can change the shape of this to look more uniform with here. When you start doing all of this and you have things mocked, things get in the way, and it's just going to look a lot cleaner the other way. We'll build this section here. This will transition down. It'll kind of tell us what it wants here pretty soon, and then we'll build, you know, assembly like this in the back, and it will look the same on the right and the left, and we'll be hiding stuff in that one, and this one will have room to put stuff. But the big thing is we want to block in the hinges, and you'll make a hinge pocket where this can work in and out and look nice and clean. And then there'll be another section built here that covers the access to the A-arms. So yeah, there's quite a bit more metal work back there, but you know, it kind of snowballs as you're going. You get a design, you get a style you want to build, and then sometimes things are in the way and you have to move them. That's just how it goes. But it should look really cool when it's done.
It's looking great so far. That brake assembly is going to be mounted underneath the dash?
Get completely mounted under the dash. Master cylinder, everything's under the dash. Everything's already been set up, pedal length and everything, bolts straight into the firewall. But to be able to get rid of the master cylinder out here and clean up the engine compartment, we put it under the dash. To do that, we had to cut all of that out. We had to make room for it. So, and then you have the wiper motor, all the wiper mechanism runs under the dash, so we had to make sure it cleared all that, so that all still works. And then I had to do this because the motor sticks up above the cowl. It used to bolt on from the top. It used to come, you had to put it in out here. Well, if we're gonna cut that away and water's gonna get in, we had to make it where it all mounted from the bottom side of the dash, like a 68. 68 Mustang, it all mounts under the dash. On the 70, it mounts in the cowl cover. So it's a lot of work. But
it never ends, does
it is what it is. One thing makes you have to do more stuff, but that's how it goes. It'll be cool when it's done. This will all be solid, filled in, nothing can get in the car. You know, there's another cover that goes over the top of this that had louvers in it. We took those louvers out. Well, that would normally seal it up enough, but with having to remove the bottom side to be able to raise the AC up high enough and get that 90-degree pedal in there, then we had to modify to make room. So now we have to fill all these in so no water can get in. You don't want your feet getting wet when you're driving.
Don't want that.
We are working on the revision of the inner fender locks.
The revision.
Yeah.
Changing it up a little bit.
Well, yeah. You gotta figure out what's gonna work the best. So, this is a cardboard version, so if this looks good, then we go to metal. and it tells us, you know, what's in the way and is this going to work around everything else without making it out of metal first. So, yeah, we're changing it up. It's, you know, got to do what you got to do to make sure it's going to fit with everything and look right. So we do this, and then you can see it in 1-to-1. And then if you don't like this, you can easily change it.
Cardboard's cheap.
Cardboard is definitely cheap. It does not work like metal, however. So you got to get it made in cardboard and then make it out of metal and then fight the metal to do what the cardboard does. And then metal does things that cardboard won't. So it's kind of tricky. Just trying to clean all of that stuff up and give it some radiuses and make it work with the front, and yeah. Way easier to throw the cardboard away than it is the metal. So that's the #1 key. And then if you do this, you can look at it and say, I don't like that. Or I do like that. Or, yeah, that's going to work.
Do you know where we can get the cardboard from? I think we can.
I have no idea. I think
we could ask that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think you can get. I mean, you can get cardboard anywhere, you know, art stores or whatever. But I think we get this from like an upholstery shop. As weird as that is, I think for making like door cards and stuff. And
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, you can go to any Michael's or any art store and get pretty good size pieces of cardboard. I want to say these are like 24 by 36 or something that we start with.
So it'd be like poster size.
Yeah, poster size. And then yeah, I mean, you can break it, you can bend it, you can curve it, you can, you know, and then it gives you a pattern that closely represents what you're going to make it out of in steel. So it's pretty good. And you can get the layout, you can take a picture, you can say, hey, that's too close, this is too close, that needs to move, this needs to move, what are you going to do here, what are you going to do there? And you can kind of figure it all out before you start making it out of metal. So it takes a little bit of time, but it saves in the long run. You know, you make it out of metal and then go, no, I don't like that, you know. So this is way easier. But yeah, I mean, and then you know, everything evolves as you're building it. You know, this might look spectacular, but then when you do it back there, you're like, I don't really like that. So you kind of see what works. And, you know, it's about the same thickness as sheet metal. So, I mean, you can put it in the metal brake, you can break it, you can do all that stuff. And, you know, it's pretty close when you go to steel. You know, it's close to the same. But at least you know what you're looking for. You know, that's the probably the most useful part of it is you can see the finished product in cardboard before you make it out of metal. So it definitely
It's time consuming and there's a lot of figuring here, but the cool part is when you do all your figuring here, then you just got to make it out of steel. Everything's already figured out, you know.
Just trace the pattern, cut it out.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, usually give yourself a little bit of room, because when you stretch metal or shrink metal, it changes dimension a little bit. But you can usually get, you know, really close. So that helps. That definitely helps. And this will have, when you're looking at this, you see a square corner. That corner won't be square. It will actually be a radius all the way around, just like this is. But this gives you a height. Now, when you make that into a radius, obviously that's going to change, but you know, you got to kind of visualize that that's going to be round, and then, you know, this radius matches this radius, so everything's just you're trying to make it look like that goes with this when they're separate pieces. So it's pretty useful. I would say that if you're going to build something of a pretty decent size, not like a bracket or something, that you do this to see. I mean, like on the little Corvair, the entire side of the car was made out of cardboard first.
Yep.
And you can figure out all your problems and your intersections, and then make it out of metal. And like I said, it is a little different. It acts different. It bends different. It shrinks different than cardboard. But at least you know what it's going to look like. So there's that.
So get yourself some cardboard.
Yep. If you're going to make anything major that's questionable, whether you can make it fit in a hole, make it out of cardboard first. Then you'll know if it fits, and then if it fits, then the challenge is making the metal look like the cardboard.
All right, so
What is up, Tim?
what's going on?
Well, you know, just bending metal. Just bending metal. So that's cool.
So is that for structure, or what is
Nope, this is we're basically moving the firewall out closer to the engine, filling in. This is the structure, and then we're going to have a cover that, you know, takes up some room, finishes this out. So basically this will come out, turn on a same radius. It'll come out, it'll block in the hinge, just enough room for the hinge to function, basically. It'll come around, it'll come all the way up and return to this box, and it'll have the same, you know, this same radius all the way down, and then it'll taper in towards the engine, so it just fills in the engine bay, closer to the engine, and it gives us a place to hide things inside it. This one here is structural. This actually holds the car together. This one will actually be a continuation of these in an engine compartment to clean everything up, where it's just the engine sitting in the middle and nothing else. So this is cosmetic, this is structural. So, and it gives us a good place to hide all the wiring and AC lines and heater hoses and all that stuff. So I mean, obviously we did it all in cardboard, but this will taper in this way. It'll come around and then taper this way, and tie into this box. And then that top, this removable section will still be there. This will be a little bit below that, but it'll have that same radius, turn, everything all the way around. So yeah, it'll come together. This is the first piece. So once we get this welded and attached, you know, this whole engine compartment cover is going to bolt in. So you'll put the engine in, then you'll put this piece in the box, and then it fills everything in. But you can populate and hide everything. It'll hide the steering shaft. It'll hide where the electronics come through. It'll hide basically everything, and fill in the gap between the motor. Someone had talked about, you know, engine setback and stuff. This will basically fill in that area. But the idea here is that same reveal goes all the way around, and then we built, you know, the hinge pockets for the hinges to hide into. So yeah, just trying to clean up everything and make it look simple, but it's not. So when you look in here, it'll look, oh yeah, that's really simple, but it's really not. There's a lot going on. But yeah, that's the big thing. This had to be a shape to be structural, to hold the car together, because, you know, there was nothing. And then now, you know, it holds the hinges, it holds the boxes, it's all tied to the firewall. Well, then this piece will literally just be a cover. So it's
like a fake firewall, so you can hide.
It's a fake firewall. You can hide stuff behind it, and then it makes fake inner fender wells that just get everything a little closer to the engine, so it looks cleaner, basically.
Gotcha.
And then you try to make some shape in it, and you try to put some curves in it, and, you know, finish out things where they don't look like they don't belong. That's the biggest thing. All of this doesn't belong, but we're trying to make it look like it does. So there's that.
These are going to be the bottom flanges that go against the firewall?
Yeah, setting this up for the return on the bottom. Gotta make a step flange that this will bolt to under there, and try to make it hidden as much as we can. It'll be under the headers and everything. You won't really be able to completely see them. But yeah, there'll be a step. This piece will come from the firewall, have a step, and then there'll be two fasteners here, just to hold it in place, because something has to hold it. We'll have bolts here, bolts on the side, and then this will be all one piece. As it evolves, you will see it's pieces, and more pieces. But that's okay. It'll all be one piece at some point.
It's got to get ugly before it gets pretty.
It looks great.
A lot going on. I'll build me some corners.
And these far corners here, these are all going to get rounded?
Yep, that's all going to be radiused. And then it'll have a corner like this right there. So we'll have to build 2 more of them. So we can show how we build those beans. Everybody wants to see
Yeah, I was going to say, let me know when you're doing that, because somebody
wants to see that reverse
see that part in the last video.
We understand this, but how do you do this and how do you do that?
Yeah, let me know when you're doing
You'd
that.
be really surprised. And you just beat on it till it looks like a corner. That's pretty much what you do. Luckily, we don't have to make any more of the outside ones. We'll have to build 2 more inside ones. I will have to do a small inside corner there and there, so we can show them both. Even though it's on a ventral, you just beat on it. That's all you do.
I'll make it look cool.
Can't guarantee that people gonna be like, wow. It's not like that.
No, we got a lot of people that watch our videos that like the fabrication, so I'm trying to show as much as I can.
That's good.
Let me know down in the comments section.
This is takes a lot of processes, so we'll be jumping around a lot. But this is how you make that backwards corner or inside corner. And basically, what I will do is, since it's so hard to stretch this much material in that tight a bend, I will actually make the top section really narrow, so it will bend and shrink and stretch. There'll be a lot of hammer forming to get it into shape. And then once you get it into shape, it will literally be just the radius of the corner, and then we will add the flat portion of the top. So we'll basically shrink and stretch this until it gets to the shape we need and all the angles correct. And you will have just the radius here, but you'll have a long section here. It'll be just the radius, and then you actually fabricate the top section and weld it in, and then metal finish it, because that's a really tight corner to make, just with shrinking and stretching. And there's so much material here, even if you narrow it down, you can leave yourself a little bit of room to stretch it and shrink it. But if you have this much on there, this metal will not give enough to make that sharper corner. It'll end up splitting. So what I do is I just cut it to where there's just a little more than the radius, and you have room to get in here and stretch this. And then once you get it into that shape, it won't be uniform. You'll have to hammer the radius and tighten it up and stretch the metal to get it around that corner. And then when you do, I will build, like I said, I will build the top section, the flat portion of the top, in the shape of the radius, and then weld it in there, because it's a super tight bend. So there'll be a little bit of that going on. That's how I do it. There may be another way to do it, but that's how I do it. So yeah, that's it. So stay tuned. So now the radius stops right there. So we have room to work this, but it's not massive. And this part will give when we actually start bending the shape in it. And then once we get this to the shape we want and all the angles are correct, we'll actually take this and transfer it and saw out the shape of the top, and then there will be a weld right here just past the radius. Because by the time I'm done, this will be so distorted from shrinking it and stretching. Well, stretching it, there's no shrinking. stretching that all around to make that turn, and then once we get it into shape and hammer and dolly all of this into the shape we want, we'll add that top section. That's the only way I know how to make one that tight without it getting out of shape. And this gives it the ability for the metal to give to make that sharp corner, where if you have a big section, you could shrink and stretch this all day and you're not close enough to the radius that it's going to really change it that much. So there's that. You see, it starts getting into that shape, but it's not round right here, so we start hammering and dollying that. I have a dolly the shape of this radius, so you'll start hammering this, stretch that over that direction to get the curve back in it, and then we'll just keep going back and forth until we get it into the shape we want. But you'll notice the radius is really good till it gets to where we stretch the shit out of it. Well, as soon as we stretch the shit out of it, now this metal has to go that way. So we got to keep rolling that around and stretching this more and stretching this. There's a lot of hammer work in this corner. I mean, it's going to be a super tight corner. So that's basically a dolly that I ground a radius on for making the outside corners. But you'll use this shape and this to make the inside corners. So first things first, we'll get this closer to the shape it needs to be, and there'll be a little bit of working.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more build videos like this, help us out by liking, commenting, and subscribing to our channel. And it's a little thing to do, but don't forget to turn on those notifications. If you want to buy merch, go to store.classiccarstudio.com. See you next time.